right, we're going to talk about dividing polynomials now. So you dealt with addition, subtraction, multiplication. You have learned composition. Now we're going to move on to division. There are two ways to do division of polynomials. First, you're going to learn about long division, and then you're going to learn about synthetic. And those are going to be two separate lessons. There's two different methods. Long division will work all the time, but it is long division. Long. Synthetic division is a shortcut, but only works under certain situations. So you have to know long division, and then you can always do long division, or you can then learn synthetic and do that when it's beneficial, when you can use it. So first, let's just talk about how to divide a polynomial by a monomial. Nice and easy. You've done this plenty of times before. I do need to point out on your notes, you need to double check. I had to change this. Some of you, your copies have not been changed. So in your example, this should say -2 p to the third. So if yours doesn't say that inside this parentheses, please change that. But once it does, take a polynomial divided by a monomial, a one term. You just take all of the terms inside here and divide them individually by what you're dividing by. So you're going to take the first term, -8p to the fourth. You're going to divide that by -2p to the third. Two negatives make a positive. 8 divided by 2 is 4. And when we are dividing, we subtract our exponents. 4 minus 3 gives you p. Then you're going to move on to the next one and divide that also by -2p to the third. Two negatives make a positive. 6 divided by 2 is 3. And p to the third divided by p to the third gives you 0, which means no p's. And then the last one. Two negatives once again make a positive. 12 divided by 2 is 6. P to the fifth divided by p to the third gives you p to the second. 5 minus 3 is 2. There's your answer. Okay. Before we move into long division of polynomials, let's remind ourselves how to do long division of just numbers. And I know you're sitting there saying, Mrs. Mullen, I can just do this in my calculator. Yes, you can with numbers, but you can't with your polynomials. So we need to review how to do this so that it's the same process. So let's remind ourselves how to take 3,257 and divide it by 12. So you can use your calculator to help you with some of this math, but don't just type that in your calculator. That's not helpful. So what you do is you start with seeing if your 3 can be divided by 12. No, it cannot. So then you move on to 32 divided by 12. And this is where you can use your calculator, because if you don't know 32 divided by 12, you can type it in your calculator. And when you do that, you get 2 point and then some decimals. You want to focus on the whole number part of that. You get 2. Then if you multiply 2 times 12 is 24, and you subtract 32 minus 24 is 8. And you bring down everything else. Now we move on and do the same thing. 8 cannot be divided by 12. So we go to 85 and divide that by 12. Once again, when you do that and you get decimals, you focus on just the whole number part. 85 divided by 12 is 7 point whatever, so I'm going to use 7. 7 times 12 is 84. And you're going to subtract. 8 minus 8 is 0. 5 minus 4 is 1. Bring down the 7. 17 is divisible by 12 one time. And then 1 times 12 is, of course, 12. And you're going to then subtract. 1 minus 1 is 0. 7 minus 2 is 5. You can't do any more division, so then you have a remainder of 5 over 12. And yes, we do want to write this as a fraction. So when I take 3,257 divided by 12, I get 271 and 5/12. We're going to do the same process, but now move on to polynomials. So when you divide two polynomials, you're going to use the similar steps as when you divided with your two numbers. What you are dividing, so whatever this is, whatever I'm dividing, that must be, when I have a polynomial, in order from largest to smallest exponent. And if any of the exponents are missing, you must replace it with a zero term. So what I mean by that is, when you look at this polynomial right here, 2x squared plus 3x cubed minus 4, I'm going to put the cubed first, then I'm going to put the squared, but it's missing a x. So I'm going to put 0x minus 4. You have to do that. You have to put it in order from biggest to smallest, and you have to put in any that are missing. Then you're going to divide the first term in that polynomial by the first term in whatever it is you're dividing. Then, just like we did here, so once I get something, I'm not going to have a number though, I'm going to have a expression, something with a variable. I'm going to have a term like 2x. You're going to take that 2x or whatever it is and multiply it by all of your terms that are here and bring them down. And then you're going to, just like we did here, subtract and bring things down. And then you're going to repeat. And you're going to continue to repeat that process until you have divided all of the terms. And either you're done or there's a remainder. And just like before with our remainder in this problem, we take the remainder and place it over whatever it was that we divided by. Now the difference is, when we do that with our polynomials, you're going to put a plus sign in between here, or minus sign if your remainder is negative. If there's no remainder, then we would say that the quotient and the divisor are factors of the dividend. The quotient was what we divided by, the quotient was your answer, the divisor is what you divided by. Those two things, like 12 and 271, would be factors of the original thing if there's no remainder. So no, 12 is not a factor of 3,200 or 3,257. It only is if there's no remainder. So you're going to want to take this first one and double check. I have x to the third, x squared, x, and then nothing. They're in order, nothing is missing. So I'm going to take that, and I'm going to be dividing it by 2x minus 1. So we are going to take your first term under your division, 4x to the third, divided by the first term, 2x. 4 divided by 2 is 2. X to the third divided by x is x squared. Okay, now I'm going to take that term I just got, 2x squared, and multiply it by both of these. So 2x squared times 2x, 2 times 2 is 4, x squared times x is x to the third, and then 2 times negative 1 is negative 2, and x squared times nothing is just x squared. Okay, now I'm going to subtract both of those things. 4 minus 4 is 0, and my x to the third is gone. Negative 4 minus negative 2. Two negatives make a plus. So negative 4 plus 2 is negative 2x squared. Break down everything left. Now we're going to use what we have, and we're going to take our first term of what we have divided by our first term of what we're dividing by. Negative 2 divided by 2 is a negative 1. X squared divided by x is x. Now I'm going to multiply both of that term by both of my terms. Negative 1x times 2x is negative 2x squared. And negative x times negative 1 is a positive 1x. And I'm going to subtract. Now, the subtraction turns this to a positive and that to a negative. Negative 2 plus 2 0. That's what's supposed to happen. Those first terms are supposed to cancel. Make sure you did distribute that negative sign like I did over here. So now I have 5 minus 1 is 4x. Bring down that minus 8. Now I'm going to take that 4x and divide it by 2x. 4 divided by 2 is 2. And x divided by x cancels. Now we're going to multiply that 2 by both of your terms. 2 times 2x is 4x. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. And I'm subtracting. So distribute the negative, make it out a negative 4x and a positive 2. 4 minus 4 cancels, that's good. Negative 8 plus 2 is negative 6. Now I have nothing to bring down. Now I can't divide 6 by this 2x. I can't take a constant and divide it by something with a variable. So I am to the point where now I have a remainder. So back up to my answer, I'm going to put a minus 6 over, what do we divide by? 2x minus 1. So when I take 4x to the third minus 4x squared plus 5x minus 8 and divide it by 2x minus 1, I get 2x squared minus x plus 2 minus 6 over 2x minus 1. There's my divided answer. So is 2x minus 1 a factor of that? No, because there's a remainder. Okay, one factor of 8x to the third minus 4x, 8a to the third minus 4a squared minus 14a plus 15 is 2a plus 3. Find the other factor. That's just another fancy word for saying divide. These are already in order. I'm not missing any terms, so I can just keep it the way it is. I'm going to divide by 2a plus 3. You're going to take your first term, 8a to the third, and divide it by the first term of what we're dividing by, which is 2a. 8 divided by 2 is 4. A to the third divided by a is a squared. Now multiply both of those terms by 4a squared. 2 times 4 is 8. A times a to the second is a to the third. 2 times 4 is 8. 4 times 3. Erase that. 4 times 3 is 12, a squared. And we are subtracting, so make sure I have a negative here, and really I have a negative here. It's going to cancel out those first terms. Negative 4 minus 12 is negative 16, a squared. Bring down your minus 14a, bring down your plus 15. Now take the first term of that new thing. I've got minus 16a squared. Divide that by 2a. The negative 16 divided by 2 is a negative 8. A squared divided by a is a. Distribute that negative 8a to both of those terms. Negative 8 times 2 is negative 16. A times a is a squared. Negative 8 times 3 is minus 24a. And since I am subtracting, I'm going to turn both of those into a positive. So because you're going to subtract, I was just going to flip the signs in the end. And combine those. Negative 16a squared plus 16a squared is gone. Negative 14 plus 24 would be 10a plus your 15. Just bring that down. And we are going to divide your 10a divided by 2a. 10 divided by 2 would be 5. A divided by a cancels, so I have 5. 2a times 5 is 10a. 5 times 3 is 15. I'm subtracting, so both of them are really negative. Those cancel, those cancel. Your answer, your other factor is 4a squared minus 8a plus 5. All right, our division and our next one. The numerator is not in order. I need that x to the third first. After an x to the third, I need an x squared. I don't have one, so I put in 0. Then I need an x, which I have, so plus 3x. And then I need my constant, minus 8. I can divide that by x plus 2. 4x to the third divided by x is 4x squared. Distribute that to both of those terms. 4 times 2 is 8x squared. They're both positive, but since I'm going to subtract, they really need to both be negative. Those cancel. 0 minus 8 is negative 8x squared. Bring down your plus 3x and your minus 8. Negative 8x squared divided by x is negative 8x. Negative 8 times 2 is negative 16x. But I'm going to subtract, so both of those become positive. Cancels out your first terms. 3 plus 16 is 19x minus 8. 19x divided by x is 19. So that's 19x. And 19 times 2 is 38. Both are positive, but I'm going to subtract, so both are really negative. My 19s are going to cancel. Negative 8 minus 38 gives you negative 46. Since you can't divide that by an x, there is your remainder. Your answer would be 4x squared minus 8x plus 19 minus 46 over x plus 2. And our last problem has a couple things to do. So we're going to take our f of x and our g of x. And it says do f divided by g. We're going to do that first. We were already in order, nothing is missing, so we can just write it out. 2x squared divided by 2x will just be x, or 1x if you want to put your 1. Distributing that x to both terms, I get 2x squared and 5x. Both were positive, but I'm going to subtract to make them both negative. Cancels there. 17 minus 5 is 12x plus 30. Now I have a 12x, divide that by 2x. Would be 6. And 6 times 5 is 30. I have two positives, but I'm going to subtract. Those cancel. So f divided by g of x equals x plus 6. So there's part 1. Part 2, nice and easy. It says take that f divided by g, and I want to find f divided by g of negative 1. Plug in negative 1 for x. You get 5.